One of the things we're trying to do with our meetings is make them kind of less meeting-y, less reporty, and more educational based. So if you want to take the time, that is all there. You can read all the reports, you can read all the information that's being talked about. Like I said, so the agenda that we have in front of you today is trying to be more educational. Things that you can leave here and leave here a little better, or walk out of here and have something that just can make you better as you go back. So as far as my time here, the President's Report, I'm trying to get away from the governance stuff. I don't know that, everything that goes on at the national level needs a 30-minute presentation here. So I want to talk to you today, take my time, and share some insights on what I believe is, what's going on with the labor force, and what does the future of golf look like, right? We've had this COVID boom. And is it going to last? Is it going to sustain? So that's what I want to spend some time here today talking about, and just trying to share what I believe and share some insights. So I'm going to start talking kind of about the gig worker and the current labor economy. If you're anywhere trying to hire people, you know it is super hard trying to hire people in any position, whatever it is. And I think there's so many little things that go on. So just a quick summary here. The younger generations, they aren't entering the workforce as what used to be. And they grew up differently. Every single kind of millennial generation Z grew up with a phone in their hand. They have no idea what it's like to use a Thomas guide. They have no idea what it's like to look at the weather and try to figure out when is the sports going to be on TV, right? We all go to Google, it works way faster. Baby boomers, right? They're leaving the workforce, we're not replacing them. Younger generation, right, is not looking for loyalty. I laugh a little bit like, Kevin Na, we all know, is going to the Saudi tour. And some people are giving it a bad rap, whether or not it's okay. But we all know we have people in our workforce that will leave for 25 cents to go down the road to somewhere else. It's just a different type of worker. And the gig economy is drastically changing everything. Uber drivers, Uber Eats. And if you think about it, I'm having the hardest time at my club finding golf course maintenance workers. And I can understand that. You think, I can go become an Uber driver, work when I want to, in an air-conditioned car, listening to music, not have a boss, and work whenever I want to. That is a dramatic shift. That's something we have to think about, the number of gig workers that are continually going on. Probably saw this article about the Club Pro crisis in Golf Digest, different ways to look at it. I don't think it's just golf. I think everything in hospitality is having this. It's not just a golf thing, it's every industry. The Great Resignation, right, we're talking about all of the industries it's hit. It's not just golf, right? If you look at the next slide, right, this is the National Restaurant Association. They say, they're going to the biggest challenge, staffing in 2022. It's restaurants, right? Everywhere is having a challenge trying to get people and hire people. And the next slide here talks about the industries with the highest percentage of workers quitting. It's not just golf, it's everywhere. The whole labor force is changing. And that's just, what we're seeing right now. Gig workers, right? This is your gig worker, somebody who works at Uber Eats, just something where they can just go on an app type thing and find a job. And 10.3% of our workforce is full-time gig economy. 10% of that is. And these jobs didn't exist 10 years ago. And that's just, what we're competing with. Part-time jobs, the amount of people that are using gig work as part-time jobs, it's pretty easy to go on your app, download Uber, and say, I'm going to drive Uber. We all know, you used to, if you wanted a part-time job, go get a part-time server job, go work for UPS at the holidays. But the gig economy is changing everything. And in California, 3.5% of the workforce work for Uber or Lyft. It's totally different now. We have to be mindful of how this gig economy is changing everything. This just says that, it's growing, the gig economy year over year. 51% occasional, 16% part-time, and 25% full-time year-over-year growth in the gig economy. That's where a lot of the workforce is going. That's a lot of what we're competing with. Some of the jobs that are available today that weren't available 5-10 years ago, social media influencer, Uber, Lyft, door driver, Instawork, YouTube video maker. That wasn't a thing 5 years ago. Podcaster, TikTok marketer, sports game coaches. Did you know that was a thing? If you have kids, maybe you do. But that's a thing. You have coaches that teach you how to be better at esports games. Online dating profile writer. You're a resume writer too. There's an online dating profile writer, right? The world is changing. Social media managers, drone operators, scooter chasers. I didn't realize that was a thing. Scooter chasers, right? You go for the ones that you can get down from downtowns. You park them back again. And this is a fascinating one. Millennial generation expert. But these are things, right? The workforce and the labor economy is changing. We just have to be mindful of how different it is. Lyft drivers in California, the average Lyft driver makes $25 an hour. So hey, right, when we're posting jobs at $16, $17 an hour, kind of recognize that, hey, if I can go work in a car, air conditioned with music, work whenever I want to, it's changing the game for everything. At $25 an hour, they say that hey, $6 of that, it's actually 19 is the net based on car costs. But we just have to be mindful of how much it's changing and how the gig economy is changing. So I share this information with you just to be mindful of, hey, when you're looking at jobs, so much of it is different. And the younger generation, they did everything on a phone. That's the first place they're going to go. And so we just have to recognize it's different. So what's changing so much because of this, right? The Generation Z, the millennials, they grew up with the phone in their hand. That's the first place they're going to go. And flexibility. If you got to choose when you wanted to work, that's kind of what the new thing is. So be mindful of that as we're hiring. So I just say flexibility and technology are what's driving this whole thing, and the gig economy worker is totally different. California unemployment, if you look at it, April's California unemployment keeps going down, 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 down. And then as you look at inflation, right, it keeps going up, 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 up. So that just means that, hey, we've got to start paying more, right? That's a bad signal when it comes to paying people. We have to pay them more, right? The inflation rate keeps going up. So competition harder than ever. Challenges, right? Gig economy, and then what's going on in inflation. It's super hard. We have to be mindful of, hey, who we're competing with. $25 an hour to sit around in air conditioning. Why would you want to sit on a mower out in the hot sun all day? Next slide. I think you just have to take away this, right? You look at Generation Z, right? That's the generation after millennials. If you look at the flexibility, how important that is for them, look at the difference. Right? Generation Z says flexibility is a big deal to them, and how that compares to millennials, Generation X, and baby boomers. We have to be mindful of incorporating flexibility into our workforce and know, hey, if Uber will keep being flexible for them, the Instaworks will keep being flexible for them, that's where they're going to go. So be mindful. This slide is about mental health and wellness. It's what a lot of them are talking about now. And I think one of the things that's so different is that, hey, a lot of us in this room, weren't taught so much about mental health and wellness. Or said, hey, we just take a day off randomly. And the new generation, it's a big deal to them. And who decides if they're not feeling well? They are. They were taught to speak up. They were taught to say, hey, I need a day off. I don't know if anybody is seeing an increase in people calling out sick. And it's just like, I'm tired. It's not a knock, it's just what it is. We just have to be mindful of that. So, this is what I say. I say maybe right, they're talking about the Great Resignation. I think it's more the Great Reshuffle. People are moving and working in different places. There's different things to do. But I think there's also a trend coming. The Great never applied in the first place. A lot of people aren't going to apply for jobs right now. So be mindful of, hey, what's going on? And hey, how this is being affected by the newest generation. Just some things to consider. Hey, consider some set schedules. All of us have said, hey, when we were younger, we wish we were in a system with a set schedule. Something to consider incorporating that. Guarantee 5 days of work. It's hard to do, but think about guaranteeing that somehow. 40 to 45 hours at the max. These new generations, millennials, and the generations that want to work. Something to think about, guaranteeing a 1 3-day weekend per month. Someone's like, what? But it's not a bad idea just to consider in there. Focus on results, not hours. Reduce meetings and meeting times. Some of us have meetings for the sake of having meetings. Cut them out, shorten them if you can. Focus on empathy, rate, wages. Moving on to the next kind of topics, we'll talk about, hey, will the golf boom last? This is just one person's opinion. We'll talk about it a little bit. You can see a round from Net Golf Data Tech, national-wise, we're down. Rounds were down kind of year to date. I still remain very bullish on the future of golf. And hey, what rounds will do. And sometimes, hey, we don't talk a lot about, hey, what does the future look like? We don't always forecast very well. But I remain very bullish on golf. So even though, hey, rounds were down, we know we're up 30% from pre-COVID, but I remain bullish on it. So this is just kind of the trend for the year. You can kind of see, even though rounds are down, the majority of rounds happen right now in the summer. Right? It's where summer is. All right, we'll see where things end up. But hey, here's some other facts. While rounds are down, club sales are up. Google searches are up, golf round per revenue is up. So 3 kind of other metrics are showing good signs. Next slide, Bryce. So here's one of the reasons why I think we spent a lot of time looking at some numbers. I think there's also have to look at it from a social human behavior standpoint. I don't believe that habits change easily. I think there's probably a lot of us in this room that have said, hey, I want to eat healthier. I want to lose weight. I want to do something differently. Habits do not change easily. It takes something dramatic for a habit to change. If you thought how you got up this morning, you probably, for those that stayed here in the desert, you probably have your routine. When you brushed your teeth, how it all worked. There was a routine, there was a habit. 40% of people's 40% of people's behavior are driven by habits, not necessarily by choices. So, talking about habits here, I think people have gotten into the habit of playing golf. I think that's just a realistic thing. Next slide, Bryce. So, more than 40% of actions people perform each day weren't actual decisions, but habits. And if you think about that, hey, what time you go to work, hey, where you brush your teeth, how your morning routine is, what you do for dinner, there's habits that happen. So I'm looking at this partly just from a human behavior standpoint. It takes a habit to replace a habit. And people have gotten into the habit of playing golf. People have gotten into the habit of working from home. People have gotten in the habit of not going in to the office. So this is some data from movie theaters. People went to movie theaters. COVID hit, now they don't go to movie theaters as much. People have found a new habit, right? They found Netflix. You can see. This one I think is fascinating. This is the percentage of people who prefer working from home. In 2020, it was 60%. In the beginning of this year, 76%. More people want to work from home. That's what jobs are. I know our jobs can't be done, but more people are working from home. And if you work from home, you have less time that you're on the road. You can find time to play golf a lot more easier when you're working from home. We talk about, hey, the generations, what they are different. 64% think working from home has gotten them more balanced. People are going to keep working from home. Their habits are there. They're going to keep playing golf when they say they're working from home. So I just say, hey, it takes a habit to replace a habit, and I'm bullish on golf in the future just because human behavior and how habits are. So that's just what I wanted to spend my time talking about this morning, is just saying, hey, be aware of what the gig economy has done to the workforce, and think about, hey, habits and behavior, that golf will still keep us busy.